Okay, this podcast is for Year 13 AS Paper 2, and the subject is on diffraction gratings and Young's experiment. It would probably be Young's experiment because in the modern specification the diffraction grating isn't tested, although you do have to know and understand diffraction. Right, so if we take a look at the first question, which is AS Paper 2, Physics 2 Juno 5, and it's question 5 from that paper. And the first question is to sketch a label diagram of the type of interference pattern which will be observed on the screen, and this is when an experiment using a light source of wavelength lambda and interference patterns observed on the screen. So we're going to get a typical interference pattern observed. That typical interference pattern would be a series of equally spaced bright and dark bands. So we know to show a series of equally spaced bright and dark bands in an examination. I would suggest that these are actually measured out, but an interference pattern has a central bright fringe, and then either side of that we're going to have a dark fringe. So we get bright dark, bright dark, bright dark, and these are all equally spaced fringes. And again, so we get a series of equally spaced bright and dark fringes with a central bright fringe. Name the principle that's involved in the production of this interference pattern. Well, that's the principle of superposition. Okay, so that's the principle of superposition, and that's the principle that explains interference, it explains stationary waves, and it explains diffraction as well. The relationship between the wavelength lambda of the light used and the other relevant quantities is given by this equation. Lambda is equal to AY over D. State the meaning of the symbols AY and D. So in this one here, A is the slit separation. That's the distance between the double slits. So the slit separation. Y is equal to, that's the fringe separation. That's the distance between each consecutive bright band, so it'll be the distance. To look at this thing, this is the distance y here, and then finally d is equal to, that's the slit to screen distance. Okay.